What's up, people? Time for pass coverage Thursday, and it's not great. I'm just going to lead with that. It is not great. We won, and we did some positive things, and there is some good news in here. There is. I promise. There is some good stuff in here, but overall, Jared Goff ate us up, and the numbers in some areas do reflect that. There's no way around it. We have problems, and they're problems partially in the areas you would expect, maybe a couple in areas that you wouldn't have expected. But yeah, it's going to be a little gruesome. So buckle up and hope it gets better. Hope I have better things to talk about next week. So obviously, when you have a game like you did on Sunday where your opponent scores 45 points on you, you gave up stuff in coverage, and we're going to have to talk about it. And as usual, we're going to have to start with the linebackers. And as usual, the linebackers were wow. I mean, Jordan Brooks on pace to give up significantly more in coverage than he did last year so far. He has been targeted 17 times, allowed 15 completions for 200, almost 280 yards. Now, look, a good chunk of the yardage that he gave up in this Lions game was from the long catch and run from TJ Hawkinson. And I understand Cody Barton needs to make that tackle a good 50 yards before that play ended. So you want to put those on Cody Barton's head, I get it. But Brooks, they gave the completion allowed to him. So he is up to 280 yards 4 games in. He's on pace for, God, I mean, they added the extra game. Could he get up to 1,300 yards allowed as a linebacker? Not good. Not good. 2 touchdowns allowed now. QB rating almost perfect, 158. So I know Brooks can be a good player. I know he has value. I know what he can do in this league positively. He's shown those traits so far in his career, but my God, man. Not only is he terrible in coverage, we're having a hard time trying to figure out how to hide him in coverage even. That's what I was hoping this new defense would do, but so far, it is worse than ever. Gave up well over 100 yards in coverage in this game. Again, a lot of it was the yards after the catch from Hawkinson, and that wasn't all Brooks' fault, but if you're going to give up receptions, then to a certain extent, you have to live with the results. And if your partner blows a tackle and gives up another 50 yards, sometimes that's the result you have to live with. Cody Barton, I mean, not as obviously bad in coverage. He did allow 3 completions on 3 targets for, let's check the edit history here, about 37 yards. So not the worst, but through 4 games, every single time he's been targeted, he's given up a completion for an average of over 10 yards. So Barton in coverage is not showing anything along the lines of what he was showing as a rookie. I remember as a rookie, he impressed me in coverage. So far, nothing. 110.1 QB rating. Darrell Taylor didn't give up anything in coverage. Nwosu gave up 1 completion on 1 target for 24 yards. That's whatever. Mafe got targeted 3 times, gave up 3 completions. Not big plays, though. Only 20 yards total. So that's fine. I'm not really worried about that. It's not ideal, but when you compare it to what Brooks and Barton are doing in coverage, it is. I mean, God, I wish Brooks and Barton had these problems. So, yeah, the linebackers so far this season have been targeted almost 40 or over 40 times and allowed almost 40 completions. They've been targeted on incomplete passes twice this year. And I mean, the yardage is starting to add up too. It's closing in on 500 and we're 4 games in, so not better. A lot worse actually. Sorry, has to be said. Now the cornerback situation is mostly a lot better, so that's cool. Sidney Jones played a little bit against the Lions. A lot of people were critical of the game he played, but looking at the coverage metrics, played fine. He allowed 29, no, excuse me, 32 yards, which it's not amazing, of course, but compared to the problems we had up here with these guys, sure seems like nothing, right? And it was mostly at the end of the game when the Lions were in chuck it mode because they were behind by 2 scores and needed a score fast. So Sidney Jones got some flack after that game. I don't really get the sense it was deserved to looking at the coverage metrics. And I'm going to say the same thing about Michael Jackson as well. He got targeted a good amount in this game. I know he got pulled out of the game at one point, but at the end of the day, he only gave up 2 completions for a grand total of 7 yards, according to PFR. Assuming that's even close to being accurate. And by the way, PFF and PFR have the exact same coverage numbers for him so far this year, I believe. That's far from your problem. So I think both those guys lay off a little bit right now. They're not the problem. And of course, not the problem is Tariq Woolen. He got targeted quite a bit in this game. He gave up a handful of completions, 3, but he's still, after 4 games, only at 137 yards allowed. The penalties add up, I know that. He's got probably maybe 100 yards of penalties. But he has the 2 interceptions. He has the pick 6. His QB rating against is 35.3. The dude is killing it. So there's your silver lining right there. Those guys, yeah. Sidney did fine. Michael did fine. And Tariq Woolen, he's more than fine. There is something special happening with Tariq Woolen right now. The guy who got picked on in this Lions game at corner was Kobe Bryant. He did have the forced fumble, and he did play a better game, but he got targeted 8 times and gave up about 100 yards, 99 yards in coverage. So it was not all wine and roses. 5 completions. He's playing better. The forced fumble was huge. He almost had another one, by the way. QB rating against 132, so it's dropping. It dropped big time this week. But he is still the guy getting picked on. Remember, he's playing less than the other guys by and large. He's not on the field as much as Tariq. He's not on the field as much as Michael. But hey, he is kind of playing out of position. So maybe we can't be shocked by this result. But better, I guess. We're headed in the right direction, but we still got a long way to go. Ryan Neal, he got targeted a few times when he came in later in that game. Held up okay overall. He gave up 22 yards on 6 targets, which is totally fine. 4 completions, 6 targets, 22 yards. That's fine. But he got a little unlucky here because 2 of the completions he gave up went for touchdowns. And I didn't think Ryan Neal played necessarily a bad game. In fact, he looked way more active than some of the other players on defense that we've had on the field at those positions. So I want to continue to play him. Carroll already said that Ryan Neal's going to get to play more going forward, and that's going to be one of the hopeful solutions to making the defense a little bit better, which I support. But yeah, this first game, he played fine, but the 2 touchdowns really knocked him down. QB rating against 112.5. 112.5. So, okay, that's fine. Safeties, Quandre Diggs, again, not really getting targeted that much. It's kind of a thing where, like, why would you throw at Quandre Diggs when you can throw at everyone else, right? Like, he's allowed 25 yards in coverage so far this year. So I know Quandre's not making the splash plays right now, but he's still a really good safety. He's still holding up in coverage. So least of my concerns right now is Quandre Diggs. Barely giving up anything in coverage. Now, Josh Jones, on the other hand, he gives up everything. He got targeted 6 times in this game, which as a safety is a lot. 3 completions and over 100 yards. So, yeah. Bad things. Bad. Really bad. He can't tackle either, by the way. He doesn't really do anything. I think we're learning here that being the star of training camp and preseason doesn't carry a lot of weight when the regular season starts and you're playing against better players. So yeah, I guess the only thing you can point to right now is he's allowing a less than 60% completion, but it doesn't matter. He's still giving up over 10 yards a target. He's still giving up over 200 yards in coverage as a safety. So, if nothing else, let the Josh Jones experience remind you that Jamal Adams was really good. Okay? Whatever ill will you hold towards Jamal Adams for the way this trade has worked out, Watching Josh Jones play football should remind you how good Jamal is. Just putting that out there. But anyway, yeah. Josh Jones, Carroll kind of intimated that Josh Jones might be losing his playing time, and he should. And Joey Blunt might be getting healthy. If you want to put him in there, I'm for it. If you want to go get somebody, I'm for it. But, yeah, not sustainable. Over 200 yards in 4 games allowed in coverage as a safety. That's rough. And it's not just one big play or 2 big plays. No, it's consistent. It's consistent bad coverage. All right, so that's your pass coverage Thursday. The linebackers can't cover. Kobe Bryant is getting picked on. And Josh Jones is getting picked on. So those are the problems. Everyone else actually held up. Everyone else did their job, I think. So I don't know if Michael Jackson's benching in this game is a permanent thing or something that's going to be reflected going forward. But personally, I think the guy's playing good. 90 coverage yards in 4 games. 90 coverage yards in 4 games. Playing a lot. So, yeah, not giving up on Michael yet. And we'll see what happens with the Sidney Jones thing. Maybe you want to boost his trade value a little bit if you're trying to get him out because you don't have a spot for him. But cornerbacks overall, not bad. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Probably going to be on Twitch later doing the Hawks Nest stream tonight. You guys know the drill. Over on his channel this week. Check it out. See you guys soon.